Hey, Brittle Planet listeners. This is Eric Peterson, quarantining from Salt Lake City today. And today I have the honor to be joined by Mr. Jon Schaffer. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Indiana,
Are you
actually my
really?
home state.
Oh, okay, nice. Good for you. How are things there?
Pretty normal. Well, I mean, I don't know
The
if
new
anything's going to
normal.
be normal again for
Yeah.
quite some time, if ever. I think that depends on the will of the people. But we're 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 open. You know what I mean? There hasn't been the goal was to have everything back open by the 4th of July, and I think they ratcheted back that just like a week or so in terms of I don't know if it was restaurants or what part of the reopening, but I mean, I'm suspicious of the whole thing personally. So, but it has never been that bad here. And there were states that were much more standing with the Constitution and Bill of Rights that didn't close down, such as South Dakota, and they're fine.
Yeah.
Arkansas did not, and I think Wyoming and Montana had very limited closings, and so I mean, that's kind of, and Indiana was not. I was not happy with the decisions the governor made. That neither were millions of others
Yeah.
of Hooters here. So, but they did. They are opening. They have opened back up, and it was really never that brutal. Like a lot of people, obviously restaurants and stuff like that closed. Which I mean, this is going to probably kill 80% of family-owned restaurants. Are going to be
Yeah.
toast after all this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible thing that's happening to the middle class in this country and to small business. So, we'll just have to see, man, where it goes. The big multinationals, of course, will benefit from all this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the people that make the country thrive are going to suffer. And so, I'm skeptical, to say the least, about the narrative and the decisions that have been made. But we're doing okay here. It was never that bad. It was not like New York or California or Michigan. Fucking ridiculous what's going on up there.
Yeah.
So, and I have a lot of friends up there. I mean, they're the neighbor right to the north of us, and it's just unreal, draconian shit.
Yes,
So,
it is. It is. So when it comes
I mean,
to
they even made you would believe they even made it so that you couldn't buy seeds at Walmart's and places, Lowe's and places like that. That was considered non-essential. So they had that shit taped off those sections up in Michigan.
I remember
so
hearing
you're right
something
around
like
when
that.
people are.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, fucking communists, man. I'm telling you, like they're up for this is not there's no joke, and so I hope people can see things clearly before too long, or
Yeah.
it's going to go hot. I think so.
Well, how are things in the world of Jon Schaffer? I mean, when it comes to Jon Schaffer, we could talk about a million different things. There's Iced Earth, there's Demons and Wizards, Sons of Liberty, and Purgatory. But today, we got a new subject. It's kind of cool. We got the...
Yeah, the book, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's, this whole thing started, the ideas hit me around Christmas time. I was just spending a couple weeks with my family, and it just, I don't know where it came from. It just popped into my head. And the thing is, I've been talking about doing graphic novels and comics and stuff for years. And I thought, when this idea of doing a lyric book that was sort of like an art book as well, and the idea just kept growing in my head, and it seems like a good thing to launch to get familiar with self-publishing and to see how Kickstarter operates and how those kind of fan-funded things would work, because at this point Iced Earth is a free agent, and we're really not interested in signing a record deal. We're probably looking at a distribution deal, because I just don't want any. It doesn't. The music business has changed so much, and I just don't feel that the old model makes any sense for a band like Iced Earth anymore. I'm not even sure that it makes sense for baby bands, except that a lot of times there's that, there's the help and support that could come from a label to help build a brand up. But I mean, Iced Earth is, over 30 years running now.
Yeah.
And, I think, so it's an experiment, and it's actually going to be a very cool product as well. I mean, the fans know that, when I put my sights on something, that I'm going to deliver the most high level, coolest thing that I can, in physical product. And so, the idea it started in my head, and I really thought to myself, man, if Neil Peart or Geezer Butler or Steve Harris or Roger Waters, who are, some of my Bruce Springsteen, some of my favorite lyricists would put out a book like what I was imagining in my head, that I would buy it immediately without even thinking about it. So I thought there must be a market, for people that are, diehard fans of mine, and for the bands that I've been involved with and stuff. And so I thought, fuck it, let's just give it a shot, And so we put it up on Kickstarter, and it's doing really well. And then also the idea developed a little while after that into doing the audio portion of the CD. And I thought, instead of just doing like a read through, like spoken word or Audible or an audio book, let's do something else and add a kind of a spooky soundtrack to it, rooted in the way the original songs were composed, but done, just as more of a soundtrack. And we just did it, and with really no clue, because it's such a weird, unique product, that no clue how the people would react. But the Kickstarter campaign, it's going to tell us exactly how many to print and what the interest is from the fans.
The cool thing is I looked at the Kickstarter, and you're way, way, way above what you ever set your goal to. So I mean, it's going well, and I love it.
Yeah, it is, man. It's actually going really cool. Like I said, I didn't know, and we just sort of we threw a number up. 20 grand seemed like it would be realistic, and it would help with manufacturing. I actually had a feeling it would go significantly over that, but I wasn't sure what it would do. I just really had no idea, because it's so different, and it's not an Iced Earth product. I mean, if it was, if it had the Iced Earth brand on it, it would be selling a lot more. I'm certain of that, because that brand has a lot more power than my individual name does. But I mean, it's still pretty impressive, and it shows us, like I said, man, it's going to tell us exactly how many to print, and that's a good piece of information to have, because you don't want to go and print 2,000 books and then sell 300.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And especially these books are expensive too. I mean, this is going to be we started paginating about a week ago, and we're actually, I knew it was going to be over 200 pages, but we're over 250 as it stands now, and there's still it's still not complete. The pagination process is going to probably take another 2 weeks or so.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
It's a massive, man. It's got a big, heavy-duty slipcase. It's going to be, I mean, it's not massive in terms of its size. It's an 8.5 by 11 book. I thought about going, bigger than that, but then the shipping and everything was already going to be expensive to get to people that are, that aren't in the United States, where we can use media mail. That's actually pretty reasonable, but when you got to ship overseas, then it gets very expensive. And the heavier the book, and there's people that, obviously the heavier the book, the more expensive the shipping is going to be. And there's people that are going to want, the different covers and all that stuff. So I thought, let's just try to keep it in a reasonable size for mailing, but it is going to be, thick, full color. Every page has got badass graphics on it, even the text pages, and so it's pretty killer, man.
Yeah, so the company you basically started is called Wicked Tales, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And then the book itself is called Wicked Words and Epic Tales. And you mentioned the soundtrack, kind of, you called it, which I loved, which was a narrative soundscape. And this is your version of a book on tape to me. And if Dracula is anything like the rest of it, holy shit, I can't wait to hear the rest of it. I mean, tell us a little bit about that process. I mean, how did you decide what to do for each? You already have a song for each one of them. How did you decide to rebrand it or tell it in a different way, but still make it cool?
It was just sort of, dude, it was really like a spontaneous idea. And I wanted to grab the important parts musically from the majority of the titles. Now, I don't know if you saw the Wolf lyric video, but
I
that
did.
music is actually completely, yeah, that one's completely different. That one has nothing to do with the music on the original release, and it was actually a piece of music that I had found in my archives that I never did anything with. And I was, we found it, Jim and I was like, you know what, Jim, play that piece and let me just read Wolf over it. And
that's cool.
And I ended up telling him to add, like, I said, it was too short, and I said, add 2 measures here, put this part in, because, he was engineering the thing, and then I read through it in one take, and it just worked. We just looked at each other and started laughing because the way it ended worked perfect with the chord change. But that was actually the only one that doesn't resemble the original musical progression. So all of the others, I just took like what I felt was the important parts of the music, and Jim and I just built a, string patches, and cool drum loops and stuff that big theatrical drums, taiko drums and stuff like that I have in my library. And we just built this thing up. And then there was a few songs that we didn't get finished. And I went ahead and just did the spoken word part. And then Jim assembled those in Florida because he was only at Independence Hall for, for 4 days.
Oh, okay.
And, so we didn't have that much time, and we actually had some other work that we had to do during that period. So he ended up doing Dystopia and Watching Over Me, and God, man, I can't remember. There was one or maybe 2 others. Declaration Day. He did those down in Tampa by himself. He did the arrangements, but we had already gone through a bunch of the songs, and so like obviously a song like Dante's Inferno, the original song is like 16 and change, 16 minutes and change, and this still turns out to be, man, I get them mixed up. I think it's 10 or 11. The Something Wicked trilogy is pretty long also.
Yeah.
But we obviously, because of all the instrumental sections in those, we didn't want to go down that road. So we just took very familiar pieces of the music that the fans are going to recognize and just changed the instrumentation and the timing, and sometimes it's just hinting, and it's just different concepts. I mean, I did play some guitar on it, but not very much. And most of it was just keyboard work, MIDI stuff, and then just speaking over it and trying to get into character. I have, like what the repeat plays and stuff like that for the fans are going to be. I have no idea. I just think it's a cool bonus to the book. And
it is.
I feel like if some of that stuff some of it's very creepy and dark sounding, and it could be cool to play around Halloween or whatever, but how many times people will listen to stuff, maybe a one-time thing and then they put it away, and that's fine. It's just it's bonus content for the book.
It is, and but it adds an extra element to the whole book and makes it a really cool process that somebody can go, look, I got this book, and it's not just a book, it's here it is, and
yeah, exactly.
So the songs, I mean, with all the songs in your catalog, you pick 15 songs. How did you pick them? Because are these your favorite songs, or are these songs that you felt like would work?
It was really more of thinking that they would work. And I wouldn't say that they're necessarily my favorite songs. I mean, some of them are, but there's so many that it's really it was hard to pick. We were looking at a pretty short time window to accomplish this. So I was kind of just shooting from the hip and going, and let's take a look at this one. Some of them would be more complicated to deal with, or were certainly more complicated to deal with than others, like Dante's Inferno and Something Wicked, for example. Those were actually the most time-consuming because they're big, epic pieces of music. But, dude, I would have loved to have gotten into some of the stuff from The Glorious Burden and from even Sons of Liberty stuff. And it's just, but they're, and if the people really like this, and at the end of the day it becomes a success, and, maybe I'll do more of that later. You never know. But it's just a thing for right now. It's just a thing to do. And then, I had no idea in December when I came up with this idea that the whole country and the whole world was going to be locked down. So that actually gave me the time because there wasn't a whole lot else going on.
Exactly.
And Ice Earth is, our travel is very restricted right now, especially being an international band. I mean, we have a Canadian and a British guy in the band, and it's not going to be easy. And I think it's going to be quite a while before we can get together and do our next thing. It doesn't make any sense to start planning anything right now because I believe they are going to launch a second wave of this and lock everything down again. And they certainly will in most states. And, as it is right now, Americans can't even go to Europe. So, I mean, to me, it's a ridiculous level of fear mongering. I mean, I'm not denying that we have a problem, but we've had plenty of these problems in the past.
Yeah.
And what I don't like is that I feel like this reactionary decision to shut everything down is going to do far more damage to people's lives. And I think if you look at the actual death rate, and like I said, I feel sympathy for the people that have lost loved ones during this. Absolutely. I'm not cold-hearted. I'm just saying that the ramifications of shutting down the global economy are going to lead to far more suffering than something that's arguable, whether it's even as bad as the flu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of the actual death rates. So, and the way they're testing, that needs to be questioned heavily. And the way they're counting, if you have a heart attack, yeah, we're going to call it COVID. I mean, they're being pressured by the federal government to do this kind of garbage so they can get the numbers up. And I just, there's a lot of fraud and corruption, obviously, in this country and all over the world, but it's rampant right now. And I just think that the people are going to suffer a lot more from these decisions than from the virus itself.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, like you said, though,
opinion.
The good thing is people aren't doing as much, so they have the time to check out your book, which is really cool. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you chose these 15 songs. I would love to hear, or sometime if you had some that were on the bubble, or on the cusp of making it, but just didn't.
Well, like I said, I would have really enjoyed getting into a little more. Yes, there are. Specifically, I would love to get into some of the Glorious Burden and Sons of Liberty stuff, and some of the stuff from the debut album, and honestly, even a little more in the Storm Rider. I mean, there's so much, dude. There's really so much that could happen. Even some of the. I did A Question of Heaven, but I think that might be the only one off of Dark Saga. There's just a lot. It would be fun to do it because it was actually very fun. It was really creative because it was I don't know of anybody that's ever done it before. Maybe somebody has, but it was just a fun process to come up with the pads, with the atmospheric pieces, and then getting into character and try to speak it through. And I think now that I've done it once, there's definitely things that I would do to improve upon the whole process. But for the amount of time that we had to do it, and for it being like really the first time something like this has happened, at least to my knowledge, that I think it came out pretty cool. It's a fun thing for diehards. It's definitely not for everybody.
No, yeah. But the other neat thing too was some of the comments that you had from some of the people, because I'm a huge Sabaton fan. So when Parr was on there and he was talking about his response to it, because he was obviously, Sabaton was influenced by Iced Earth, and so it was really cool to hear what other people had to say about you and your work.
Well, dude, I didn't see what Per said. I didn't know he had actually said anything, but him and Chris both wrote comments in my book, and I got a section that's called colleague comments, and so there's a lot of people from the business that made statements. Either we've worked together or they've been influenced by it or something. There's several different people, but Per was actually one of the reasons that I did this, because sorry, I don't know what that is. Maybe in my girlfriend's house, and maybe the smoke alarm's going off. I'm not sure what's up. But anyway, so the Per was like, after I did that spoken word thing on Sabaton, we were on the phone, and they were really happy with it, and he said, "Man, I really think you should go into voice acting. Your voice is so cool.
Yeah.
It sounds so theatrical. And I was like, well, thanks, man. I never thought of that. But I think it actually, and that was like 2016. But I think he might have planted the seeds for this. And somehow in my subconscious, this whole thing came together, and it probably was from Pear planting those seeds, because I mean, I've done a lot of the spoken word type of stuff. It's really just usually for bridges and for whatever, to add a little bit of creepiness and drama to whatever song it is that we're working on. And apparently those guys liked it. I mean, when we were touring together on the Plagues of Babylon tour, and they really loved that spoken part in Plagues of Babylon, and I think that's why he wanted me to do the thing on their record. But whatever the case, those guys are good friends, and they I think Pear actually inadvertently inspired me to do this.
Nice.
So
at some point we kind of dove into this a little bit. I kind of feel like you already said, if this is successful, you would consider doing this with some of your other projects.
Yes, I mean, and probably grabbed some stuff from other Ice Earth songs as well, but I just don't know, man. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that it wouldn't be, because this literally has this book has every lyric that I've written up to this point. So if I did anything like this in the future, it would just be audio. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be it wouldn't be like a bonus, because this is, I mean, I will certainly write some more lyrics in my career, but I'm not, I've just got to be honest, there's not going to be that many more records, because I'm getting to that point in my career where I can see the end of the road coming. It's not there yet, but it's coming. And I have all these other creative things. I mean, dude, I've been doing music for 35 years, and it's been an awesome journey. But this Something Wicked story, going in depth into comics and graphic novels and gaming and all this stuff, that's been a plan since I wrote the shit in 1997. So, I mean, it's always been the plan that that's going to be something I do when I retire the band. So this is the first stepping stone into that world, and I don't want to start that world yet, because when I do, it's going to become the thing. When I'm writing in books and directing artists and doing all this stuff, it's going to take as much time and devotion as it does to make Iced Earth successful. And so, it really needs to be something that's going to come later on. But as I was saying earlier, I don't even know, how things are going to shake out for us, because there's at least 3 of us that are refusing to get vaccinated. I'm one of them. And I hear these tyrannical governors saying that, they're not going to allow any more public gatherings or events until there's a vaccine, and blah, blah, blah. So that's going to become a situation where people, for me, it's a line in the sand. I don't trust the technocracy and the authoritarians that are running the world, and I don't trust their agenda, because I know what they're up to. I've read their books, and they've been openly talking about this stuff. And so any kind of rush to a vaccine for something that it's just not happening. You know what I mean? It's just not. I'm not going to play, and neither are some of the guys in my band. So I think that there is a chance that we won't even be able to tour again. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what happens with the resistance of the people, and whether they're really going to put up with this garbage or not. And so we'll just have to see, dude. It's a weird time, but I still want to do another Iced Earth record or two, but my guys are in other parts of the world now. I know there's technology that would allow them to record, but I produced the band, so they need to be in the room with me when things are happening. And it's different than working with Hansi on Demons and Wizards, who's completely capable of doing all the vocals by himself. And we've been in the similar positions in our bands for over 30 years. So Hansi's a seasoned veteran. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I know the whole team over there. And so doing another Demons album in a couple of years is definitely, on the agenda, and we still have a live album, but coming, we got to talk about that pretty soon here when we're going to mix. But, so, it's definitely a weird time, and we'll just have to take it step by step.
So the Demons and Wizards, that last album was great. And the tour went well for you guys?
Oh, it was killer. Yeah,
Good.
It was really, really great.
And
yeah, we had an awesome time.
And then, like we kind of touched on Iced Earth, your last album, Incorruptible, was a great album. One of my top Iced Earth albums. I love that album, and so you guys will see what happens. I mean, the door's open, but there's a lot of stuff on the table. So
Yeah, it's just there. It's really. I mean, the good thing is for Hansi and I both regarding Iced Earth, Blind Guardian, and Demons and Wizards is that we didn't plan on touring in 2020 anyway because it was going to be a year of studio work. So that for him, for regarding Blind Guardian, for me, my plan was to start writing new Iced Earth material at the end of this year because I just finished producing the new Witherfall album. I mean, we literally just mastered and sequenced everything on Wednesday. So that was, besides the book, that's the other thing that I had going on. And we were supposed to be done in the middle of May, but because of the virus, we had to push things back a little bit. But we are wrapped up now. It's an amazing record. And then I have another very big surprise production that people will be hearing about in early August.
Nice.
That's next on my plate, and I'm starting in 2 weeks. And then there is the 30th anniversary of the first Iced Earth album that will be coming out in December, and that's being remixed by Zeus, and it's going to have new artwork and stuff. So it should be a pretty cool thing. But 30th anniversary, the label wanted to do something special, so we're going to be doing that for at least for that and for Stormrider in 2021.
Excellent. I love that. So my last question for you is, I've been asking this question for the last 5 months because it seems like a good question, and for you guys, I think we could do a lot more. But give me a song based on title or content that best describes the state of the world right now.
Woo! Man, yeah, there's a.
We could do a whole album of Iced Earth.
Yeah, dude, totally. I mean, go look at Dystopia, look at Plagues of Babylon. I mean, I was writing actually in Warning about exactly this stuff. From the Sons of Liberty records, both of them, even up through Plagues of Babylon, and of course, Dystopia is disguised. The message is there. It's just within the Something Wicked universe, so it does have a sort of a sci-fi horror twist to it. But I mean, this is actually it's pretty horrific what's going on.
Yeah.
And Plagues of Babylon, it's all in there in all those first 6 songs.
Yeah.
It's so I would say any of those, man. I can't really name one.
Yeah.
You could listen to the whole first Sons of Liberty, Brushfires of the Mind album, and it's all right there. Full Spectrum Dominance from the Spirit of the Times EP. That song says it blatantly, boom. Lyrically, it goes right in line with what the agenda is and what they are doing. The elite families that actually are the real mafia that run this world. And people can say whatever the fuck they want about me being a conspiracy theorist. I clearly don't give a shit. I'm actually informed. I've read the books. I know what they're doing. And it doesn't matter, what Planet Dum Dum thinks. I'm actually paying attention.
Well, good for you. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, John, it's been great to talk to you, and I'm excited for this new book. And like I said, I find it to be an amazing work of art. I think you could totally do this for other artists, and they would love it. So,
man, my manager and I talked about that because I would love to see this turn into something from the artists that I love, and even ones that I don't. I just think it's a cool idea. It allows you, when we listen to songs, our perception is different because of the audio onslaught that's going on from all of the musical parts as well. But sometimes the lyrics can get a little bit obscured because of the melodies or the raging guitars and the grooves, whatever it is. And I think this really, and I'm not doing this because I think I'm the best lyricist in the world, because I know that I'm not. But I know that the stuff that I've written has touched a segment of our fan base that really love it, and it means a lot to them, and it's helped them through hard times. And I think it just makes for a cool collectible in a musician's career. And if it's Bruce Springsteen or the White Buffalo, I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Jake Smith. It's a small band kind of country folk stuff. His first 4 albums are some of the best stuff I've heard in years, and he is an amazing lyricist, man. And I could just see that a product based on that guy's lyrics with cool graphics and stuff, it would be amazing. But, you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows? But it would be nice if a lot of others follow suit. And if I could help, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, I think you should get back with Pear and say, hey, buddy, the idea you gave me, I think we should do it with you.
Yeah. Hey,
so.
I mean, he knows. He knows actually. When I spoke to him about doing a quote in the book, you know, he knows what I'm up to. He wasn't aware. I was just kind of I was talking to Chris several times when they were out on the road. I was like, "El Pair, I got something special brewing, and it's inspired by him." You know, so
nice.
And he probably 6 weeks after that, I told him. So anyway, it's cool, man. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, everybody, go check out the new book. Should be coming out here pretty soon, and the Kickstarter ends relatively soon, correct?
Yeah, the Kickstarter ends in, I think, 4 or 5 days, and we have a target release of October 31st. We'd really like people to have this in their hands by Halloween.
Nice.
I hope that the global situation doesn't get interrupted, but that's our target. And so, you know, we'll be finalizing orders and stuff up to like probably 2 weeks after the campaign and making sure that everything's completely paginated and properly put together, and I get proofs and blah, blah, blah. And then it'll go to the presses. So, you know, barring any more insanity and potential issues with China and stuff, you know, we'll see what happens. But that's the target is late October.
Great. Sounds like a good plan. So I appreciate it, Jon, and it was amazing talking to you as always, and we will chat soon.
Good to talk to you too, man. You take care of yourself.
All right.
There.